Monday. I wanted to say it softly because there's a bird outside that is enjoying its best life. I don't know how being a bird must be, but must be nice, even being a puppy called Milo. But welcome to my YouTube channel. The name is Gorata.Selaledi. I'm so excited to be here yet again for another Monday video. And today is, I would say, another motivational chit chat, another motivational talk. And I truly enjoyed the last one I did, although I was a bit awkward about it, given that it was the first of its kind on the platform. Coming on to today's video, feeling a bit more motivated as well, to record this one for you and for myself as well, as we wrap up the month of June. So this should be the last Monday, the last Monday of the month of June, and I sure do hope that even as you go through this video, it will get you to a place where you learn a bit more about yourself, as we are going to be looking back to move forward. I wasn't really sure how to title the chat, but in coming into today's video, the key idea is just really to give us an opportunity to find clarity and purpose as we journey on ahead onto the next month of July, with hope and faith that God will afford us even more days to further, let's say, live out our lives and help extend the bit of eternity that we get to co-create with God with during this time. So a funny Bible analogy that I wrote down when I wrote this title, Looking Back to Move Forward, was about Lot's wife, right? So Lot's wife, God gave, I think for just context for those who don't know the story, is this Abraham and Lot? I'm not sure, yeah. But Lot was being told to leave Sodom because, it's Abraham. Because God was going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, right? And pack up, and go, right? It's going to happen soon. And as they're leaving Sodom, the wife decides to look back and she gets turned into a pillar of salt. Right. And just a funny thing there, I think when I was just thinking about that coming into today's video, in thinking about reflecting on the past, reflecting on possibly how the past 6 months have been for you, reflecting on the past 30 days, how those have been for you as well. The idea is not really to get stuck looking at what may have happened or what may not have happened. I truly believe that it's time to upgrade my phone because my storage was saying that it's full. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, and all the good stuff. But yeah, the key thought that I was sharing there before I got cut off, was that instead of getting stuck looking back at what could have happened and what couldn't have happened, just take a moment to build a bit of insight on how you showed up in that moment so that you can indeed inform your steps and, just like Johnny Walker, just keep moving forward. Alright, so let's just get into the video. So the key intention of today's video is just to do a life audit, and I am going to be leading you through 7 questions. And just as I shared, it's really motivational. So I will be speaking to you and wearing my coach hat just to encourage you to really take your life a bit more seriously. And I think from the faith girly in me, just so that you actually tap into your full potential and actually maximize your co-creation with God as an ambassador of the kingdom of God, right? But yeah, the key questions that I am going to share with you today are centered around assessing your achievements, handling your challenges, managing your time and priorities, nurturing relationships, exploring emotions, analyzing unmet goals and why, and the reasons why, and recognizing your growth. And if you are a new viewer, please do click on that subscription button and the notification bell so that you are notified when new videos go up. New videos every Sunday, Monday, and Friday. And if you are a returning subscriber, welcome back and happy Monday. Let's get into the video. For real now. Alright, great. So the first question, and remember we are doing a life audit, so even as I read the questions to you, please note them down for yourself and make some time to really think about the answer for yourself, right? The big so what for this video is you actually doing the reflection. So question 1 is, what were the most significant achievements this month? How did they align with my overall goals for the year? I'll read it again, slower. What were the most significant achievements this month? How did they align with my overall goals for the year? And the first part is really assessing your achievements. And when I noted this down and thought about it, I think thinking about achievements works in many ways. And when you think about holistic well-being, thinking about your physical well-being, your emotional well-being, your social well-being, financial well-being, and all the good stuff in between, thinking about all those areas, I'd want for you to really think about those areas and think about the achievements through that lens, right? So personally for me, in terms of, I'd say, my emotional well-being, a lot of work was done, a lot of consistency was being built, especially through my reflection and journaling circle, where I get time to actually reflect on the day, reflect on the week, and set a good tone for the following week, right? But if I was to take the emotional component as a chunk out of a wheel and compare it to my physical well-being, I'd say that my physical well-being wasn't taken care of. So that would be one thing that, in thinking about what really worked, I'd also then take note of moving on to the month of July to really work on, right? So what is it for you? This is something that's called the Wheel of Life in coaching. You can actually Google it, download a wheel for yourself, and really just reflect on your wheel for the month of June, right? So in thinking about your achievements as well, something to consider is also the bigger picture for the rest of the year. And personally for myself, a lot of realignment that needs to be done, I should say, because when I noted down that I was actually now thinking about redoing my vision board for the rest of the year, because I think the past 6 months have been filled with a lot of rest and realignment. And personally excited to then say that June, my birthday month, can actually count as, I'd say, the first day of the rest of my life in a sense, and almost like a new year. I mean, indeed it is, given that I did turn 30, but a new year to actually press reset and start all over again. So yeah, so I don't know about you, but what is your vision for 2024? What do you want to accomplish in the next 6 months? I'd want to challenge you to take time to write that down and honor yourself, because this will actually help you have a bit of structure in terms of how you're going to use your time for the rest of the year. And just looking at the time here, took a bit of time reflecting on that first piece. So I will quickly run through the rest of them. But I do hope that even as I read them out, you will be able to make time to reflect, right? And I think just wrapping up on assessing achievements, reflecting on this helps you to understand the progress that you have made and help you stay motivated for the coming month, right? So even for myself, in as much as I may not have possibly achieved all that I said at the beginning of the year, I truly believe that so much work was done in terms of rest, recharging, and realigning for the rest of the year. So yeah, I'm just going to pause here and then come back to the rest of the 7, which I'm not really going to unpack too much. I'm hoping that you get the gist in terms of how this life audit moment is going to play out, right? So, yeah. Okay, cool. So I am going to lead you through the remaining 7, and I hope that even as I read them out, you will note them down for yourself. And I'll just share the key points that I noted down and hope to stay on script. So handling challenges, that is the second one, right? So what were my biggest challenges in June, and how did I handle them emotionally? What were my biggest challenges in June, and how did I handle them emotionally? And what I noted down here is triggering moments. Did you fully allow yourself to feel the emotion? And which emotion was it? Right? When I was personally reflecting, I got a bit of insight, I guess, in terms of the areas that, like I noted here, triggering moments for myself. And what that does is to equip me on how I can actually better reinforce moments that look like the one that led to that trigger and show up a bit better in that moment, right? So reflecting on challenges in this case also gives you an opportunity to get insights on your level of resilience and areas that you might need to improve. And the third one is managing your time and priority. Managing your time and priority. How did I manage my time and priorities this month? What changes can I make to improve? I'm going to read that again. How did I manage my time and priorities this month, and what changes can I make to improve? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. This is something that is in one of my workbooks that I created a few years ago, and it still rings true. And I think personally, thinking about this guy over here being Alice, I haven't had a foolproof plan in terms of how and when I want to practice my keyboard. And I think going into the month of July and the rest of my new year, I will be prioritizing that, right? And the key thing here in terms of time management is to say, how effectively did you use your time in the month of June, right? And I'd want to encourage you to be very frank and very to the point in terms of whether or not you did actually manage your time, and if you didn't, get to a place where you can give yourself constructive feedback. My husband is still in the room. And the key reason why I'd want for you to be very constructive in how you give yourself feedback is so that you can actually better manage your time and priorities. I'm just going to check this mic. Okay, great. Yeah, so that you can better manage your time and priorities in the month of July, right? And the fourth one is nurturing relationships. So which relationships had the most impact on my life in June, and how did I nurture them? I'm going to read it again slower. Which relationships had the most impact on my life in June, and how did I nurture them? And the key thought for this reflection point is that relationships play a very crucial role in our lives, right? And if you were to think about the people that are connected to you, be it your colleagues, your friends, your family, your support network, whoever that is, including your professional network, and that includes your therapist, your counselor, your mentors, thinking about how they contributed to who you are in the month of June, right? And what I noted down as well to reflect on is to say who brought you joy and support in the month of June, and also how did you contribute to these relationships in this month. It might look like showing up, if you were to note professional relationships such as therapy. Showing up for the therapy session is, I guess, part of your contribution, and also showing up as vulnerable as you can in those moments, right? And I'd want for you to send whoever brought you joy this month a note, and not an emoji or sticker, but a note to just show a bit of gratitude in terms of the contribution that they have in your life, right? And then the fifth one is exploring emotions. exploring emotions, right? And we live in a culture where I'd say we are still on a journey when it comes to learning to express ourselves, and I personally am as well in that journey, and understanding what emotions are and how they contribute, I'd say, to how we show up, right? And something that I'd usually always share in my coaching sessions is just to say that your emotions are just your friends. They're really just there to signal how you are perceiving your lived experience, right? So to say that there are no good or bad, maybe positive or negative emotions, but in this case, then it's to reflect for you as you were living out your life in the month of June, what emotions were triggered, right? And I'd want to encourage you to look up Susan David list of emotions. You can actually then look at the different levels of emotions that exist so that you are able to label the emotion as you feel it. So the question is, what emotions did I experience most frequently this month? What emotions did I experience most frequently this month? And what do they reveal about my current state of mind? And I'd want to encourage you going into the month of July to possibly start journaling, even if it means on your notepad, on your phone, on your notes app. At the end of every day, just taking a moment to really think about the key emotions that you felt throughout the day. Was it anger? Was it frustration? Was it loneliness? Was it sadness? Was it anxiety? Was it contentment? Was it happiness? What emotion transpired throughout the day? And at the end of the month, you are able to actually look through your notes app and actually see that, hey, I was actually very happy and very joyful this month. And personally for me, given that it was my birthday month, there was a lot of joy for the month of June, right? And then in terms of really just thinking about your mindset, how you're perceiving your lived experience, be it your home situation, be it where you are at work, you being able to reflect on your emotion actually shows you how you're thinking about your lived experience. And also, the most important part, it gives you an opportunity for you to address any underlying issues that actually might be tied to that emotion. Number 6. I want to drink some water because I'm just talking a lot. This is a long time. Alright. So number 6. Number 6 is analyzing unmet goals and why. And I think for this one, I'm excited for the month of July because I am going to be starting, a Monday series on what are goals, right? So unpacking goals, understanding the different methodologies to setting and meeting and achieving your goals, right? So maybe you might be sitting and saying, Gorata, but I didn't set any goals for the month of June. If you are on that boat, I look forward to seeing you in the videos lined up for July. But in thinking about the month of June, I'd want for you to think about maybe the few things that you wanted to accomplish for the month. And if you haven't accomplished these, I'd want for you to list out the reasons why, right? And it's very important because it will give you an opportunity to actually map out a strategy for the month of July. And a strategy simply says, this is what I'm going to do to try reach this goal, right? And the nice thing is a month has 4 weeks. So if week 1 ends, you can actually sit down and review the strategy to then say, this was the strategy that I had set out for myself. Did it work? And if it didn't work, you can re-strategize. And the idea here is the goal that you've set for yourself has to be meaningful and tied to something that is, I guess, tied to the bigger vision of your life. So personally, for me, the big picture for the month of July is really zoning into health and fitness for myself, right? And the key motivator then would then be the goal in mind, which is losing 10 kg in the next year, vocalizing it, for you to keep me accountable and to keep myself accountable. But what is it for you, right? And it has to have a really strong why, right? And not to state mine here, but in thinking about the goal that I've set for myself, there has to be a very strong motivator as to why I am doing it. And I think in thinking about half year, for a lot of us, we probably sat down and did the same in January. But then the year started and the year went on and we didn't actually accomplish any of those. And this girl is in that boat. That's why I'm saying June is very redemptive for me in terms of restarting and resetting. I hope that we will walk this journey together and see a bit of change on the second half of the year. And again, lastly is recognizing growth. And the reflection question says, have I grown intellectually? And there's the bird again. So the question says, how have I grown intellectually and emotionally? And what new insights have I gained? The sun is actually setting. How have I grown intellectually and emotionally? And what new insights have I gained? Right? And this could be professionally. If you're a student, it could be before exams. What did you learn in this month if you are writing exams? And emotionally as well. Maybe you may have faced a situation that you faced a year ago, but you addressed it or faced the situation more maturely or more with more discernment and more grace, if I was to put it as such. So I'd want to encourage you to take a moment to really reflect on those areas of growth, pat yourself in the back. And if it's a situation that maybe has been prevailing for a very long time, if it means having had maybe started going for therapy, and I truly encourage you to consider that. If it's now tracking the progress that you have made, personally for me, seeing that coming out as a very obvious glow on my face, I'd say that is an area that I'm working on personally. So what is it for you that has shown a bit of growth emotionally and intellectually, right? And speaking of intellect, as a way of closing off this video, I am going to be doing a book review for the book that we are reading for the month of June, which is called Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I'm not sure if I'm saying the full name correctly, but watch this space for an extra video. I'm not sure when I'll publish it, probably Sunday. Reviewing the book, and I'm hoping that it will be insightful for those who are not really inclined to reading fiction like me. But it has been a pleasure, and I'm so grateful to have made it to the very end of this chit chat. I hope that it blesses you, and even as you reflect on the last day of June, stepping into July, I hope that you will circle back to this video and use it to actually reflect on your journey. Otherwise, it has been a pleasure. I pray that may God's favor locate you, and may His grace sustain you as you move into this new week. Just goodbye for me. Not sure if the bird is audible on the mic, so